Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings. For any man who's ever dated or been married to a woman, this news will shockingly not come as a surprise. All kidding aside, modern technology allows some amazing medical benefits. 26 February 2024, more women may be psychopaths than previously thought, says expert. Dr. Clive Body says assessment skews towards obvious male traits, but female psychopathy is more subtle. By Nicola Davis, science correspondent, The Guardian. When it comes to typical psychopath, the suited and booted Patrick Bateman from the novel American Psycho might spring to mind, but according to one expert, the number of women with the neuropsychiatric disorder could be far greater than previously thought. Psychopaths are generally considered to lack empathy and guilt, exhibit antisocial behavior, lie frequently, and be ruthless, narcissistic, and manipulative. Psychopaths are after money, power, and control, said Dr. Clive Body from Anglia Ruskin University, who is an expert on psychopaths in the corporate world. While the idea of psychopaths as violent, antisocial criminals has given way to a more nuanced view, with Body among those to argue they are often found in big business, the idea that they are mostly male has remained. The behavior of female psychopaths seems to be subtle enough and less obvious than male psychopaths, and therefore they're not recognized as much, Body said. A small but mounting body of evidence describes female psychopaths as prone to expressing violence verbally rather than physically, with the violence being of a relational and emotional nature, more subtle and less obvious than that expressed by male psychopaths, he noted, adding that may include spreading rumors and lies for personal advantage. Body said one problem was that part of an assessment used to help identify psychopathic traits, known as the Levinson Self Report Psychopathy Scale, L is in Lima, S is in Sierra, R is in Romeo, P is in Papa, was skewed towards men. That, he said, was because while the first part of the assessment looked at how emotionally detached, selfish, uncaring, and manipulative a person was, the second part, which covered the psychopathic lifestyle, focused on violence and antisocial behavior. The secondary element, and the measures for it, were largely based on studies of criminals who were in jail at the time and psychopathic. So the feeling is, among researchers these days, that those measures are just not suited to identifying female psychopathy. There had also been fewer studies looking at psychopathy in women than in men, he said, and assessors may be reluctant to label women as psychopaths. Some estimates have suggested there could be a 10-to-1 ratio of male to female psychopaths, but Body's work using only the first part of the LSRP suggested the figures were very different. It's almost 1-to-1. If I'm not mistaken, the report says 1.2 to 1. Body said, although he noted large-scale studies of randomly chosen adults would be needed to get a more definitive picture. Body, who is due to give a talk on female psychopaths at the Cambridge Festival next month, said that while an estimated 1% of men were psychopaths, the diagnosis sat at one end of a spectrum. Estimates using the first part of the LSRP suggest there are about 23% of men who, although they're not categorically psychopathic, have enough of the traits to be problematic for society, he said. Body's own research, based on surveys of white-collar workers, suggested such traits were not uncommon in females. Around 12% to 13% of females have enough of those traits to be potentially problematic, he said. Recognizing psychopathy in women and men was important, Body said, not least because such individuals could have a huge impact in the workplace with employees sidelined, abused, and bullied. In addition, he noted, businesses led by such individuals could lose direction and it could affect how people viewed large organizations. They see the greed, untruthfulness, and ruthlessness of those at the top, and this undermines democracy and the rule of law, he said. Body advocated for screening to be applied to job applicants to help protect employees, especially the higher up you go in terms of seniority. Therefore, you have more power and control. The more those sorts of screening tests and psychometric tests are needed, he said. The Cambridge Festival runs from 13 through 28 March. This article was amended on 27 February 2024 to clarify that the Levinson Self-Report Psychopathy Scale is not a diagnostic test, but rather an aid to identifying psychopathic traits. Here's a reading from neuroscience.com. Prevalence of female psychopaths more common than believed, February 27, 2024. Summary. Researchers provide novel insights into female psychopathy, challenging the conventional 6-to-1 male to female psychopath ratio, with new evidence suggesting a closer 1.2 to 1 ratio. The research indicates that societal gender biases have obscured the true nature and prevalence of female psychopaths who often employ manipulation and seduction rather than violence to achieve their goals. This revelation not only calls for a reassessment of psychopathy across genders, but also signals significant implications for criminal justice and corporate leadership. Key facts. Number 1. New ratio uncovered. Dr. Body's research suggests the real ratio of male to female psychopathy could be as low as 1.2 to 1, indicating female psychopaths are up to 5 times more common than previously thought. Number 2. Gender bias in identification. Traditional psychopathy measures designed around male criminal behavior fail to capture the more manipulative and seductive tactics employed by female psychopaths. Number 3. Implications for society and business. The underestimation of female psychopaths has serious repercussions for the criminal justice system and organizational leadership decisions, highlighting a need for gender-inclusive assessment methods. Source: Anglia Ruskin University. Female psychopaths are up to 5 times more common than previously thought, according to an expert who will present his work at the Cambridge Festival later this month. Current scientific evidence suggests that male psychopaths outnumber females around 6 to 1. However, expert in corporate psychopathy Dr. Clive Body of Anglia Ruskin University, ARU, argues that studies may be failing to identify female psychopaths because they are largely based around profiles of criminal and male psychopaths. During his talk at ARU's Cambridge campus on Saturday, 16 March, Dr. Body will argue that the characteristics of female psychopaths differ from males and that gender bias plays a role in the underreporting, with society ignoring what people perceive to be male traits when they are displayed by women. Dr. Body will present his own research which shows that using measures of primary psychopathy, which exclude psychopathy's antisocial behavioral characteristics and concentrate on its core elements, the real ratio of male-female psychopathy may be about 1.2 to 1, up to 5 times higher than previously suggested. Referencing research into corporate psychopaths and how they operate in high-achieving roles in the workplace, Dr. Body will explain how female psychopaths are more manipulative than males, use different techniques to create a good impression, and utilize deceit and sexual seductive behavior to gain social and financial advantage more than male psychopaths do. Dr. Body, deputy head of the School of Management at Anglia Ruskin University, said, "People generally attribute psychopathic characteristics to males rather than to females. So even when females display some of the key traits associated with psychopathy, such as being insincere, deceitful, antagonistic, unempathetic, and lacking in emotional depth, because these are seen as male characteristics, they may not be labeled as such, even when they should be. Also, female psychopaths tend to use words rather than violence to achieve their aims, differing from how male psychopaths tend to operate. If female psychopathy expresses differently, then measures designed to capture and identify male criminal psychopaths may be inadequate at identifying female non-criminal psychopaths." Female psychopaths, while not as severely psychopathic or as psychopathic as often as males are, have nevertheless been underestimated in their incidence levels and are therefore more of a potential threat to business and society than anyone previously suspected. This has implications for the criminal justice system because current risk management decisions involving partners and children may be faulty. It also has implications for organizational leadership selection decisions because female leaders cannot automatically be assumed to be more honest, caring, and concerned with issues such as corporate social responsibility. Dr. Clive Boddy has been researching the effects of having psychopaths in the workplace since 2005 and has published more on corporate psychopaths than any other academic. His research interests include toxic leadership and particularly the effects of corporate psychopaths on employees, organizations, and society. And in closing, any man who has worked in the corporate world and has had corporate female co-workers and managers knows that this report is well beyond late. How many men and our men colleagues have been dragged into HR over false, baseless accusations and reports, having their lives ruined, their careers terminated because this kind of report has not come out soon enough. Thankfully, it has, and maybe finally something can be done.